Okay, we're live, Your Worship.
All right, thank you very much, Jen, and welcome everybody to the Clearview Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting for September the 7th. It is just after 4:30 p.m. Sorry, we're just a few minutes late, but it's great to finally get everybody here. And welcome to September. And happy to have everybody here. So we'll go right to our agenda. Declaration of disqualifying interest or general nature thereof. Anybody got anything to declare for today's agenda? I'm not sure. Nope, don't see any. If anything comes up, please bring it forward. Approval of the agenda. Recommendation be it resolved that the Economic Development Advisory Committee hereby approve the agenda dated September the 7th, 2021 as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? We'll move this forward.
I'll move it.
Mr. Roskar, and
Okay.
there we go. Thank you. Thank you. All in favor? Good. All right. Okay, guys, moving on, then approval of the minutes from August the 3rd. Seemed like so long ago, wasn't it? Recommendation be it resolved that the Economic Development Advisory Committee hereby approve the minutes dated August the 3rd, 2021 as presented. Mover and seconder on this. Kelly, good. And Jen, thank you. Those in favor? Thank you. And business arising from the minutes. Anybody got any questions from the minutes? Business from the minutes? Nobody, nothing? Okay. So John Ferguson.
Yeah. Yes.
This is an item on our agenda, just financial report. So John, can you give us an update on what the status is or where we are with our budget for this committee?
Okay, so this is the economic development budget for the township, and the Economic Development Committee, my understanding, can make recommendations as it relates to this budget. So to date, the budget has expended $38,485, and some of that has gone towards the advertising and promotions for community improvement plan, as well as money towards the downtown beautification project, which is under the control of the Director of Planning. So some of that money has been extracted from the budget at about $38,000 worth. On an interesting note from our discussion of last meeting, we talked about the possibility of researching the feasibility of a hotel in Clearview. And we do have a $50,000 budget for consulting services within the budget that some or all of that money, depending on what the cost would be and the benefit out of it, could be used for consulting services associated with researching the feasibility of a hotel within Clearview. It was a topic of discussion last week, and I think that was a direct question that was asked.
All right, so that's good to know, and that gives the committee an opportunity to think about that and whether we want to move ahead with that sort of project to investigate it. So we can leave it underneath new business. We're gonna bring it up right then, but I'm glad we have a bit of a financial update as to where this committee sits, so we have opportunities to consider how we might apply that to help our community when it comes to economic development. Okay, thanks, John. And one last thing on finance too, John. Obviously, with the new budget year coming up, yourself will represent this committee when we present to council on any plans. So if any of the members have any recommendations or anything they'd like to bring forward, bring it to John Ferguson, and that way he can put that together in a presentation that goes to council as part of the administration budget. Does that make sense, folks? Yes, go ahead, Kelly.
What's the timing on that? Like, when does the budget go in, and how much is left up for this year? Or have we used it all now?
John?
No, we have. I don't believe we've used the full budget for some initiatives this year. The budget process is underway right now. Kelly is working on the final aspects of it. There's always a little bit of room as it relates to some discretionary spending and maybe some projects that might come out of this committee from a recommendation perspective. I know you had mentioned something at the fair that was over here the other day, that you wanted to talk about an idea that you had about lighting up the storefronts. And I think that's something that we should bring forward and think about, something that draws the attention of people to the stores, lights it up in the evening as well, and might attract more business. So I think it was a good idea, and I'd like to explore that further with you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions to John regarding finance? Excellent. All right, John, like I said, just please keep this committee up to date. And as for committee members, if you have anything that you'd like to think about for 2022 or further, you can take email, send it right off to John, and he can consider that in his presentation to council. All right. Now we have a couple of guests who actually Mr. Vachon did join us way back in one of our first meetings. So Terry, it's great to have you back joining us at the meeting here tonight. And Amanda Murray, I think this might be your first time at the Economic Development Advisory Committee, but Amanda is a very active member of our tourism team, obviously. And she's an events planner extraordinaire. So we're very happy to have her here with us here at Clearview Township. So Terry, you got a presentation you would like to give to us, and Jen White, as one of our members, has been part of that. So Jen, Terry, Jen, do you want to lead off, and then we'll go from there?
Yes, I would. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come in and have Terry and Amanda chat with us today. So one of the important things that we need to recognize is that, first of all, Amanda and Terry have a massive remit, and tourism is just one part of that. So I want to acknowledge that it's not just tourism. It is part of a much, much bigger remit that she has. And the other thing that we want to recognize is that tourism is an economic driver. So when you look at economic development proper, you see that tourism is an important leg of that stool, where you want to bring people in to recognize what you have to offer in the region. They might gain an appreciation of wanting to live here. They're then going to seek out housing. They're then going to become employed in the region, and so on and so forth. So tourism is a very important economic driver. What we're going to also talk about today is how we as the Economic Development Committee can leverage tourism initiatives and programs in order to start using it as a lever for economic development. So I'm going to turn it over to Amanda and to Terry, and they're going to talk a little bit more about this, and then we're going to return and see if there are any questions.
Oh, I know, Singhampton is like that.
So to start with, I'm just going to share my screen.
Yeah, the box of cups and glasses.
There we go. Everybody can see that okay? Thumbs up?
Yeah, I can't find it.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, Jen, and thanks for allowing Terry and I to make this presentation. I'm certainly going to take the lead on most of the slides, and then Terry will definitely interject. Our main goal today is just to give you an overview of the Parks and Rec and Culture Department, as well as how community culture and tourism are part of that department, and what are some of our initiatives are, as well as some limitations and opportunities for the future. So just high-level overview, tourism in Clearview. For the past several years that I've been employed, our department's been managing events and festivals in Clearview. We support other festival organizers across the municipality. We created the signature event series, which has really taken shape over the last few years. So those are our top 8, top 9 events that are promoted as unique opportunities in Clearview. Our department also oversees and manages the trails, and we support all of the outdoor experiences. So things like hiking, biking, bird watching, geocaching, things of that nature. One of our key responsibilities is to act as a liaison with other tourism operators and partners, not only in Clearview, but also across South Georgian Bay, and in fact, the entire RTO 7, which is made up of Grey, Bruce, I drew a blank there, Grey, Bruce, and Simcoe County. We have a very close partnership with some of our long-term partners, so long-term businesses, folks like the Clearview Chamber of Commerce, the Creemore BIA, some of our tourism operators that have been long-standing, like the Creemore Springs Brewery, Duntroon Highlands, Duntroon Cider House, Leishman Pottery. So those kind of key identifiers in Clearview that make our area unique. We have a great relationship with the business community, both in terms of being able to provide resources and educational materials, but also being able to promote those unique retailers, restaurants, cafes, pubs, those types of experiences that you can find in Clearview that differentiate us from our neighbors such as Collingwood and Wasaga. One of my key roles is to also be involved with the County of Simcoe Tourism and the County of Simcoe Economic Development Networks. Those are, again, great opportunities. It's a good way to share information. We're able to take the research and the findings from the county partners and be able to spread that down to our own local operators or to some of the local partners. The other advantage, too, with being so intertwined with the County of Simcoe Tourism Department is that they take lead initiatives and have the budget and the staff resources to create county-wide initiatives, and recognizing that Clearview in many cases is a gateway to those other municipalities. It's a good way for Clearview to be involved. RTO 7 is one of our key partners in terms of both funding as well as from a promotional standpoint. Although there are lots of things that still need to be improved with RTO 7, I would definitely say in the last few years, our relationship has definitely been strengthened. Our role also is to work closely with accommodators and retailers, primarily in the business district, so downtown Stayner, downtown Creemore, and the accommodators, so trying to maintain our database of bed and breakfast operators, networking and connecting with those accommodation providers to make sure that we're always providing our maps, our brochures, any resources that we can provide the accommodator owners so that they can share that information with visitors and guests of their bed and breakfasts. And I guess the last area that we are very much involved with is from an agricultural tourism perspective is just building those relationships and networking with the farm gate and the farm markets that are in our area. So folks like Fernwood Farms, Morrison Pumpkin Patch, McEachran Apple Farm, A&D Birdseed, Purple Hills Lavender, etc. It's just a very unique opportunity that we have in Clearview, and certainly one that I take advantage of quite regularly. And then another key role that our tourism department plays is being a board member on South Georgian Bay Tourism, which is the destination marketing organization, so a DMO for our region, which includes 5 municipalities. And I'm going to speak a little bit more about that in my presentation. Some of our 2021 successes that we initiated this year was creating a safe and welcoming Creemore Farmers Market and introducing the Stayner Farmers Market. Because of COVID parameters, we had to make some major changes to the layout, the types of vendors, even the types of experiences that we could provide. So I have to really give credit to the staff and volunteers that worked hard on ensuring that the Creemore Market and the Stayner Farmers Market was able to take place this year. And in fact, the Creemore Farmers Market is going to continue right through until Thanksgiving weekend as per their normal operations. So once again, a real big kudos to the staff and volunteers for making that happen. Our 2021 initiatives also focused heavily on downtown beautification. So in Stayner, we implemented the Welcome to Clearview banners. So under our primary headings, which is Discover Clearview, Dine Clearview, and Shop Clearview. Just again, continuing that message that we're open for business and that we're welcoming, not just for our own residents, but for visitors that are driving along Highway 26. We also were able to match our planters. Last year was very successful with the new redesign in downtown Creemore. So using some of the economic development budget that CAO Ferguson referenced, we were able to continue that partnership in downtown Stayner. Basically how it works is that the township funds the planters, we handle a lot of the operations, but then our partners create the color scheme, they pick and choose the types of flowers, and they work with the rural roots directly to make sure that that gets planted in a timely manner. And the third big phase, or the third big project for downtown beautification is the expansion of the Brock Street parking lot and trail and gateway entrance in downtown Stayner. It will be a huge undertaking that is actually going to be starting very shortly within the next few weeks. And I think it'll really transform the gateway of Stayner when you're traveling along Highway 26, traveling west as you enter Stayner. We were also lucky this year to hire back our 4 tourism students. We were able to maintain operations at the Clearview Tourism Information Center 6 days a week. We saw a huge increase on use for our trails and parks and those outdoor experiences by reintroducing activities such as geocaching, enhancing our bird watching, redeveloping new trails in some of those areas to connect our communities. All was ways that we were able to get people outside, explore the outdoors and those big views that Clearview has to offer. The Clearview Eco Park, which is located at 300 Mowat Street in Stayner, is transformed into an ecological destination. That's our vision for the park. By hiring a seasonal contract position, we've been able to put a lot more maintenance, increase our standards of the eco park, develop the community garden, provide better opportunities for dog walkers, cyclists, hikers, those that just really want to get out and explore nature. And the Clearview Eco Park, in our opinion, is the place to do that for Clearview Township, not only, again, for our residents, but also for our visitors coming in. And the other 2 great initiatives that I just like to speak highly of is, again, with our partners, the Creemore BIA recognized that there was a need to have more pedestrian space in downtown Creemore because of COVID and the high capacity and the high volume that they were experiencing. So Chill on Mill for the past about 7 or 8 Saturdays was very much appreciated by the business owners and by residents. And I know that there is some growth that is happening down there. There's certainly comments with the business owners about how it can be improved in future years, but Chill on Mill was definitely a successful program. The other initiative that we are supporting is the Clearview Chamber of Commerce Tasty Tours Map, which is going to be the lure brochure to get residents and visitors out to explore the cafes, restaurants, and pubs that are happening or that are open here in Clearview, but also those other foodie destinations. So things like unique retailers such as the Cheesy Corner or the 100 Mile Store, or other beverage providers in Clearview. So Creemore Springs Brewery and Duntroon Cider House as being 2 obvious partners that we've worked with. Another big success that I just have to share, and this takes up 2 screens, is our recreation and tourism map. So each year we do produce a tearaway map. It's a double-sided map that is provided. There's over 3,000 copies that are distributed between May to September, with the majority of them definitely going to our accommodators. All of our Clearview Farm Fresh, so that's the farm gate and markets, get a copy of the booklet. Our bed and breakfast operators who were open during the 2021 season, they received pamphlets. And again, our key tourism operators that I work closely with, so Leishman Pottery, Duntroon Highlands, and Creemore Springs Brewery, also receive the recreation and tourism map. So on the front side, it's a very high level overview of all of our parks, trails, farm fresh, our small halls, bed and breakfasts, as well as the key trails such as the Snowmobile Trail, the Ganaraska Trail, and the Bruce Trail. Taking full advantage of an 11 by 17 tablet piece of paper, on the back page, we list our hidden secrets to discover in Clearview, so those little tidbits that make our destination unique. We included the Fresh from Clearview Farmers Market information as well. Like I said, the eco park, the dog park, and the community garden are really a high priority for our township for this year. One downside to printing is we produced over 3,000 of these maps, and then a decision was made not to move forward with the New Lowell Farmers Market because of the stringent COVID protocols. So within a matter of weeks, this map was out of date. However, the advantage is that by using QR code technology, you can continuously update and keep your website and social media channels up to date. So people just had to scan the QR code and then get the right information. Just touching on quickly the DMO for South Georgian Bay, which is South Georgian Bay Tourism. We have been a funding partner since 2013. And it is our vision to be Ontario's Four Seasons playground. And I translate a lot of that into marketing materials for Clearview Township. We also have a complimentary business listing. So all businesses in hospitality and tourism can be part of South Georgian Bay tourism now. Some of the emerging opportunities that our department is focusing on, some have been a result of COVID, but others have just been perfect timing. So moving forward with these types of experiences is Taste of Clearview. So it's our new signature experience to promote restaurants, pubs, and cafes. That will be in the fall, approximately October to November each year. Initial communication has gone out to the restaurant owners just to start gauging their interest and what types of menu planning they want to put into place. Duntroon Highlands and our department have also really bonded and created some new partnerships and some new marketing opportunities in terms of their expanded event space, creating new experiences, as well as hosting more golf tournaments at their location. Ride Simcoe is an initiative to promote motorcycle tourism, and that is the lead with Tourism Simcoe County. Again, a really amazing opportunity to bring motorcycle tourism, that high income earner, 50 plus age group, through Clearview, either on their way to other destinations like Collingwood, Wasaga, or heading up north, or having them stop and take advantage of the rural charm and those big views that you can get. Just interestingly, I just want to make a point to the committee that although our township is fully supportive of Ride Simcoe, the Creemore BIA did pass a resolution not to support the motorcycle marketing initiative. So we're very careful and conscious of how we are promoting it, but certainly encourage any businesses, even within the Creemore BIA district, to take advantage of the Ride Simcoe campaign. The fourth opportunity is to strengthen our marketing and education around ATVing and snowmobile experiences in Clearview. Again, really falling into that Four Seasons destination by having outdoor experiences and bringing people into our township that are adventurous. So those that are driving ATVs, they're owning ATVs. Same with snowmobilers. They stop, they eat, they shop, they fill up on gas. They come back, they can explore the area when they're not on their ATVs or snowmobiles. It's just a really great way for us to be part of it. But we do need to do some education and marketing around our shared spaces with those two user groups. Some of the other emerging opportunities are things that we're just starting to scrape the surface on. So those rural experiences for large-scale tourism destinations, we learned a lot this year with the lavender farms and how attractive they are. As soon as the blooms are in season, we are welcoming in Clearview upwards to 10 to 12,000 people at some of our lavender farms. And how can we get that to translate so that the visitor is coming not just on weekends, but all 7 days? How is it that we can have those visitors return back to our township and experience other forms of tourism, whether it's another outdoor experience or another agricultural tourism experience? Obviously as well, taking advantage of those different harvest seasons. So what's in season would be a really good play on an agricultural tourism initiative. So things like pumpkin and apple harvest, which is just, very quickly approaching. And we have an amazing pumpkin patch just north of Ottawa that attracts thousands of visitors in a very short 3 to 4 week time frame. Sports tourism is something that Terry and I do have a lot of experience with. Just before COVID hit, we had plans on developing a brand new Clearview 3-on-3 hockey tournament. So bringing in that large number of participants, which of course when they're youth, they come with at least 1 or 2 parents, maybe a couple coaches, grandma always shows up. So again, just really bringing in those sport tourism opportunities and other tournaments that can take full advantage of our fields, our arenas, and our halls. The very last opportunity, like I said, these are things that are just scraping the surface, but it really is becoming an emerging opportunity in Ontario, is cannabis tourism. And the primary goal of that is to have tourism partners develop sampling and experiences in a safe and welcoming environment. So not something that we're jumping in 2 feet with right now, but definitely something that could be focused on in the coming years. That being said, there's a lot of opportunities. We have a lot of real big strengths and successes. However, part of my presentation today is just to touch on some of the limitations that our department faces in terms of promoting tourism in Clearview. And the big one is heads and beds, which is how the province primarily measures the success of tourism, which is the number of people that can stay overnight in your overnight accommodations. We do have limitations. Primarily, our overnight accommodators are bed and breakfasts, as well as 2 seasonal campgrounds. And while I have to acknowledge our bed and breakfast operators that have been open, folks such as Darcy Q, so it's Emily Q's place in Creemore, as well as the Roscar's place, the Gables B&B, as being 2 really great bed and breakfasts. They are great communicators. They let me know when they're open. They always share great stories about who's visiting. For the most part, bed and breakfast operators can be, it can be seasonal in nature, or they were just very, very careful with COVID and they've remained closed. So just trying to make sure we always have that connection. I just also want to point out to the committee that Airbnbs are currently prohibited in Clearview Township under the existing bylaws. So again, that is a slight limitation because it's just reduces the amount of overnight visits that could happen in Clearview. As a result, we are predominantly a day tripper experience. We have a lot of seasonal rentals or seasonal property owners, as well as visitors that are going to other destinations. So they're driving through Clearview Township. I sometimes say we're the gateway to the bay because that's exactly what it feels like. So a limitation on that part is how do we make sure that they stop and stay in Creemore, in Stayner, in Singhampton, in our other hamlets, on their way to some of those larger destinations like Blue Mountain Village, Wasaga Beach, or onwards to folks like Meaford and the town of Blue Mountains. Another limitation that we've experienced, not just because of COVID, but even prior to that, are the inconsistent hours of operations and the seasonal nature of our small and medium-sized businesses. This is by no means criticism. It is just a reality that you face in a rural community. The hours may not always be up to date on their Google website. It could be posted one day on social media as being open, and then something happens in their family, and because they're family-owned businesses, they have to change. So it makes promoting certain businesses a challenge in terms of being able to say open, 7 days a week or open these hours of each day. The other part too is, of course, the seasonal nature that happens in Clearview Township. I'm not going to lie, it is pretty dead and quiet in January and February. And even if we do all of our marketing and all of our promotions, people just like to huddle in and stay at home. Except, of course, for those adventurists, those outdoor enthusiasts, the snowmobilers and the skiers. So it's a matter of being able to create marketing campaigns and initiatives that can really focus in on those demographics. And the very last point that I just want to bring to EDAC's attention is how our department manages the visitors' expectations with the local opinions. We take a very much a neutral perspective. We make sure that when we talk about cycling, so Cycle Simcoe or partnering with some of the cycling organizations, that it really is just about saying our roads are safe, you can come and cycle. We have a variety of businesses that are friendly for cyclists, but it's not necessarily that we're saying we're the only destination for that, or you can only cycle here and not here. So it's really a high level. Cycling is one of those divisive conversations amongst our residents. So, it's just trying to be very familiar. And I often, sometimes just scratch my head and think, okay, how can we partner, and what opinions or what other considerations do we need to think about in order to make this event a success? So we've talked a lot about some internal and external limitations and strengths and opportunities. Here are just some of the challenges that our department can see in terms of talking about economic development. Our labor shortage, which is being experienced in hospitality, can in fact translate to a wide range of different sectors. And I think it's pretty safe to say that most of you on this call know that there are help wanted signs at pretty much every small and medium enterprise across not just Clearview, but probably across South Georgian Bay. Even our largest employers are still calling out for a wide variety of skilled laborers. We experience transportation challenges in Clearview Township. So how do we get those young workers who may not have access to vehicles out to the different parts of our communities, so the different hamlets and villages, so that they could also work and contribute back to our society? Another challenge that is experienced is our parking and road closures and some of the other concerns between our residents and visitors. So although I'm really proud of the fact that we have free parking available on all of our streets and our municipal parking lots, we do have to make sure that we manage those parking spots for the residents who live upstairs on top of some of the retailers that are on our main street. Same with road closures. So on one hand, very successful that we close down certain streets to promote increased shopping and events, but we just need to be very consistent and considerate of the residents that live nearby and what kind of impact does road closures have. I can't stress enough that affordable housing is a hot topic. It will be one that every community needs to start thinking about. It's certainly something that even our own township and the county partners have considered. So I just wanted to make sure that bullet point was included in this presentation. So those are some of the external challenges. Some of the internal challenges is for our department to create or to utilize a measurement tool for measuring tourism initiatives and tourism activity in Clearview. It is something that we just haven't explored very much. It can be a challenge in the sense that without having raw data, it's sometimes hard to create a plan or to build out something if we don't have the numbers behind it. So some of this is just Terry and I's gut experience and talking to our businesses and talking to our partners to find out what problem is it that we need to solve. But a measurement tool is certainly a challenge that we have. And the last point too, and I'm just being completely honest, as Jen alluded to during our introduction, so thank you for that, Jen. You're looking at basically 2/5 of the Rec, Culture and Parks Department, and Terry and I, we have the dedication and we have the passion, but at the end of the day, there is only so much staff resources in our municipality devoted to tourism initiatives. And this is just one part of a much larger department and a much bigger amount of responsibilities that we have in Clearview. But of course, with every challenge, there are always opportunities. So today's presentation is really about shifting the narrative from our tourism limitations to the opportunities that EDAC can assist us with. So access to attainable and affordable housing needs to become a priority in our region. Employees need to live here where they work. And this isn't just a hospitality industry. Like I said, it's not just about having restaurants having to close because they can't get staff working up here. It's not just about having some of our suppliers and our distributors and our farm production facilities being able to call in. They're literally driving employees up from other parts of Ontario and putting them into housing so that they can live and work here. And then at the end of their shifts or their end of their contract, sending them back to those communities. So it truly is a regional issue that crosses over a lot of sectors. Our labor shortage, the opportunity to address that is by supporting our SMEs, so that's small and medium-sized enterprises, by increasing the labor pool, by having more people relocate and are willing to work and are within that working age group. So it's very attractive that we have a lot of retirees or young retirees coming to the area, but we also need to be able to attract residents that are here and they're still able and willing to work in our community. And the third point too, just to get EDAC thinking about it, is just becoming creative with those transportation solutions. We're lucky we have a high school located right in Stayner, but close to 60% of those students are bused out of Stayner. So what is our transportation solution to make sure that they could still get to those part-time jobs, things like fast food restaurants, service industry, retailers, etc. As CAO Ferguson mentioned, and I also have included in my presentation, an opportunity to have a feasibility study done for a hotel or for an accommodation feasibility would be very helpful. It would definitely set out a plan within the next 3 to 5 years to identify where are our opportunities to bring in those overnight visits. Do we even have the capacity to do that in terms of being able to offer something Four Seasons, keeping in mind that those top 3 items that I just mentioned above, housing, labor, and transportation, could be very big limitations as to attracting a hotel chain. If we don't have staff here that are able to work, they may not be as willing to open up a hotel or a motel. Again, from an external perspective, those are 2 big opportunities. From an internal perspective, there is some really great training opportunities that the Economic Development Council of Ontario have been implementing and have for a very long time been doing. I'm by no means an economic development expert at all. I do not take that. I don't have that role at all, but I do have to say I've participated in some of the training, and I think there would be some real value with EDAC looking at the training and really becoming more knowledgeable about how economic development can play a role in Clearview. So just to sum it all up, tourism is the economic driver to attract new residents. By using tourism as a lever, you'll be able to create an economic development mandate. I know this presentation on the agenda said that how is tourism and economic development intertwined? While yes, that is a very much the right statement, it's our opinion that this is truly about a lever. We are the launch pad to make economic development stronger here in Clearview. And I think it's EDAC's ability to use some of the points from today's presentation to help formulate and create a mandate that can support the entire township. So I'm just close to wrapping up my presentation. Terry, did you want to jump in at any of these slides?
Sure, thank you, Amanda. And sorry, Your Worship, I think I might have missed my cue at the beginning to kind of introduce Amanda. I think she's done a fantastic job on behalf of our department. So you know, Jen and I have worked really close with Amanda to put this information together. If I can just highlight 2 quick points that Amanda mentioned. The first one is, as you can see, we rely on our partners. We are great partners. But we really rely on them. We're very fortunate and grateful that we do have excellent partners in our area. Simcoe Tourism, the RTO, South Georgian Bay. So that's why we work really close with them and to help and guide us. Before we had our EDAC committee here, they were really the sounding boards for our department to go to, and they're great people. I would even say that Simcoe Tourism, that whole Simcoe economic development group, is probably one of the best in Ontario, if not one of the best in Canada. So we're very fortunate to have them in our area. And secondly, and again, I just want to highlight, this is very important. This labor and housing issue we have is very real. It is, I think, if I scan our township, it is one of our biggest issues. Council can double our, Amanda mentioned that we're 2/5 of our department. Council can double our staff tomorrow and it still won't have an impact. One, we don't even know if we can even attract new staff in our department for that role. And second, if our partners and our businesses and our locals cannot staff their establishments, we're really, our hands are tied. So that's a very, very huge issue that really needs to be addressed. So I just wanted to add that as part of Amanda's presentation. I want to thank her on behalf of our department in putting this information together and working very closely with Jen. We've gotten to know Jen a little bit in the last couple of months. She's a real superstar on your committee there, and we're really happy to have her in our area. And when we met with Jen, we mentioned that we want to work with her as closely as we can, rely on some of her experience, as she's heavily involved in the tourism business with her employment. So again, relying on more partners. Jen's definitely one of our partners with this committee. So again, we want to spin it. This is, although we're in COVID, although we have challenges, I think we've done a pretty decent job the last couple of years. in doing the best that we possibly can in keeping open and promoting our township and making us look alive. So just wanted to add that. Thanks, Amanda, for letting me chime in there. And again, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Terry. So just to summarize and finish up everything, Discover Clearview is our brand-facing website for all of our tourism, recreation, and program information. So you can find us at discoverclearview.ca. You can also get social on Facebook and Instagram. Come and join all of our followers and our supporters. So again, it's at Discover Clearview on Instagram and at Discover Clearview on Facebook. And this is just our contact information. You can reach out to Terry or myself. We are here to help. That's our department slogan. We're also here to listen and work with our partners. So if there's anything else that you need, feel free to reach out. And Terry and I are both on the call for the next little while to answer any questions. So thank you very much. Thanks, Jen, for meeting with us earlier this month. And thank you to all the members of EDAC for allowing us to speak today.
All right, thank you very much, Amanda. And again, yes, John, you want to go right ahead? I just want to give my accolades, first of all, thanks to the team. And Jen, I'm glad you got to work with both Terry and Amanda, because they're a couple of our superstars here at Clearview Township too. So we're very happy to have them. So, all right, over to John Ferguson. Go ahead.
I just wanted to compliment our recreation, tourism, and culture department. They Amanda's team put together at the Eco Park a great garden party the other night, and I thought it really shows a lot. And I'm hearing, and forgive me, I'm learning a lot of things about the community as I, continue to participate in different things. And I just want to talk. I won't take a lot of time, but when I was interviewed for this job, I was asked, where do you think we should go, or what should we be doing? And I used a tool called the 5 capitals. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it's a local economic development tool. It's called the 5 capitals. And what you just described today is really the areas of the 5 capitals where you may have gaps. So for example, I just jotted them down here quickly as I was thinking about this. One of the most important capitals that you need is natural capital. And so if you look at this particular area, you have your farms, you have your caves areas, and I'm speaking of the entire region. You have a beachfront, you have to a certain extent cannabis, you have brewery using natural capital, and these are all foundations. You need 4 natural capitals to create the 5th. The 5th capital is financial. You need to have the natural capital. You need human capital. And I think Amanda touched on the fact that there's certain age categories that you're lacking certain people, or the uptake of jobs, either through transportation or other hurdles. It's not happening as well as it should. Your social capital is also very important, because that's really what makes the community glue together. So, you have your garden party and your volunteers, you have your BIAs, you have your economic development committees, you have your Chamber of Commerce. All this is really social capital that's important, that the community's together on things and moving forward. And you have to have that to generate financial capital. And the last one of the 4 is manufactured capital. So you have to either build the proper infrastructure, create the manufactured solutions to some of the hurdles that may exist between the other capitals, and then you'll have a better chance at creating financial capital. So getting back to the human capital and hotels, this is where you can do a feasibility study to determine whether or not the number of people coming into your community would warrant a hotel, for example. But at the same time, what are you doing with your social capital and your human capital to generate an interest? So are we hosting conferences? Are we hosting trade shows? Are we hosting, and we are, I'm sure we are, but to what extent? And are we connecting that? What are we doing to alleviate transportation issues with that at margin sector? So some municipalities have created a 3rd transportation link. Okay, that would respond to at need to get to work calls. It has to be clarified, and they'll help people to get to work that wouldn't typically have a vehicle to get to work. And so there's things that you can work on that that help build each one of those capitals that creates a better financial capital for everybody involved. So your businesses are making money, your volunteers are socially happy, and most of your people are working. Okay, and you've manufactured the right capital to bring that all together. So I just wanted to say that you have all the ingredients here, but there's a few areas that I think we should work on, and I think that we should do at some point a brainstorming session for this committee to think of what things that they would like to see, and maybe who should take the lead on that. Because it's not always necessarily the municipality. It could be the chamber. It could be, a local volunteer group, and it's bringing them together. And how do you communicate so everybody's thinking on the same page? And right now, what you have in this community, even though you have population growth, you have leakage. You have leakage because you have congested roads in your main business areas. You have other things that are obstacles to really making it happen. And all the stuff that's happening, for example, in Creemore, I think is fabulous. But I also think that in Creemore, it may be too busy for the downtown area too long, maybe in the summertime. And I think it's affecting some of the residents in the area as opposed not just to the businesses. And I'm not trying to be negative here, but I'm thinking you can over-program in one area. And sometimes it's good to maybe share that and create that social bridging. So one community is bridging with another community on ideas, and you begin to then create the township of Clearview, and not just pockets of, independent cultural communities, which are important. You don't want to lose the identity, but how do they learn from each other and maybe share in some of the opportunities that may draw, more participation in downtown Stayner, downtown Creemore, Dunedin, wherever you want to have this growth occur. What are we doing about social bridging from an economic perspective? And I think there's great opportunity here for Clearview Township. I really do.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. I really appreciate those comments. And the five, the five capitals are a really important piece. And I took from your comment right there, if I may, members of the committee, that perhaps we should have a little bit of a brainstorming session now that we're kind of got to know each other a little bit. And we could perhaps host a session where it's just our group, and perhaps we'll bring in an expert like Terry Vachon, who's got a lot of experience in EDC work, and have a group, just our group. And then we may perhaps open it up later on and have the public committee give us their input too, because then that way we can start hearing from them. Again, this is just a brainstorming comment from Mr. Ferguson's comment. Anybody else got a comment? You're all so quiet and behaved. Well done. Thank you. Mr. Ferguson, before you jumped in, I was going to acknowledge that Terry mentioned the County of Simcoe Economic Development, and I know our Deputy Mayor, Barry Burton, is very active on that committee. Barry, thanks for joining us. Sorry you're a little bit, but I'm glad you're here. And I know that the work of the Chamber of Commerce, the work of the Economic Development Committee at the county has been quite busy during COVID, trying to keep things hopping and keep things interesting and active. So I appreciate that you serve on that committee as well. Barry, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And it's one thing I've sort of been bringing up at these meetings, because everybody's talking about Barry has this and Innisfil has this, and they talk about all this wonderful development and economic development. I keep reminding everybody, what about Clearview? We've got the 9th largest brewery in Clearview. We've got, the largest marijuana facility, indoor facility in North America. I keep reminding them, we've got some amazing things. We've got the largest vinegar manufacturer in Canada, in North America, who delivers vinegar. I go, why aren't you people paying attention to what's happening in Clearview? And I hear all about Collingwood and Wasaga Beach. And so I'm constantly trying to remind our Economic Development Committee at that level that there's a lot of things to do. And I was disappointed to hear that we didn't get the grant that I had talked about at the last meeting. That's because we hadn't spent all the money that we had spent from the last one, but that was because of COVID. So we weren't asking, you know, we were asking for money for new projects, but the Economic Development Committee didn't look at it that way. They go, well, you haven't spent what you got last time, so we're not going to give you more, which was kind of a bit of a frustrating situation. But yeah, I'm just constantly reminding them, and I do apologize for being a little late. I had something else I was involved in with a member of our I don't want to use society, of our community, and I was sort of tied up and got carried away. But I want everybody to know I'm wearing my Jimmy Buffett shirt today, my parrot Buffett shirt. So I'm you know, because summer's over with, but only physically, not in our real minds. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Barry, for that. That's great. Is anybody got any questions? Thank you, Barry. Anybody got any questions to Amanda or Terry on and or Jen on this presentation we just had? Go ahead, Bill. You're muted there, Bill. You have to unmute your little unmute button. Don't put on.
Something that I've noticed here at the B&B with people that are coming in, and we get people from all over the place. It's like we've got a lot of good things going on in Clearview, but nobody knows about them. And I'm wondering how do we let people know? I mean, people stay here because they want to go to Blue Mountain, they want to go to Collingwood, they want to go to the world's largest freshwater beach. They don't want to stay in Collingwood because it's too expensive. They don't want to stay in the beach because it's crummy. You know, there's no real good combinations there, and like we got to tell people about ourselves, and I think that's lacking, and I don't know, I don't have a solution for that, because I know telling people is an expensive proposition, but can we do something? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Let's go to Terry and Amanda, and Barry's got his hand up. Go ahead, Barry, first, and then we'll go to Terry.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I agree, Bill. Part of the problem we're dealing with is people still look at us as Creemore, Stayner. And I'm talking about the tourists, right? They don't think of us as Clearview. They think of us, oh, there's Creemore, there's Stayner. And that's it. And we've got to, you know, although our staff is doing a great job to promote us, Amanda does an amazing job. And she's done some pretty amazing stuff since she's come on board. And I've worked with her over the past, hate to say this, Amanda, but it's been 7 years, I believe, almost 8, and she does great stuff. And but you know, it's still that Creemore, Stayner, you know, evening has sort of created its own identity because of the concerts they have there, and we really need to do some sort of marketing program to make everybody realize that this is all Clearview, and I'm part of Clearview, and I don't know the answer. That's the thing, is I don't know the answer. I don't know the solution, but I know we need to find a solution to so people recognize Clearview is its own identity and the wonderful things that happen within Clearview.
Thank you, Barry. You're basically backing up Bill's question and comment, and I think that's exactly it. Terry or Amanda, have you got any thoughts on this topic? Terry?
Very, very quickly, thanks, Your Worship. And I know Amanda had her hand up there as well. Just very, very quickly, Bill, you're absolutely right. Promoting your community or promoting your product is a challenge, even for the bigger municipalities, and it's definitely a challenge for our community. You know, like if you really capture what Amanda's presentation and our presentation was, you know, Clearview is really that means to an end. Folks are traveling from the south and they're heading towards, you know, the beach, Collingwood, Blue Mountain. We're that means within. And so how do we promote ourselves as being that means of, you know, getting them to stop in our community on the way through, or getting them to come visit our community while they're staying elsewhere? So that is one of our biggest challenges. We're not gonna lie. We don't have the solution either. You know, we again rely on our partners. We try to get our word out through them. You know, that's kind of the best that we can kind of do at this point. But we don't have that silver bullet answer yet. You know, we're working on it. I don't know if we'll ever find it, but you know, the only way we can do it is just keep on chopping at the bit, working with our partners, getting our word out there that we're here. Barry Burton he brings up an excellent point. That the branding that we have with Clearview, it takes time. We already have 20 years in, but a lot of the brand that we see out there have been around for a long, long time. we're really just, we're rookies from a branding perspective, because we promote Clearview. We don't promote Stayner. We don't promote Creemore, the communities of. We concentrate 100% on the brand of Clearview, and it takes time. We're going to get there. I think we do our feasibility studies. There's a huge casino that's right on our border. It should generate some hospitality and some traffic, or more traffic. So, it's another good partner that we're going to have to team up with in the future, because that casino is right on our border. So that's, again, I guess to recapture what I'm trying to say, Bill, is we're working on it. We don't have a solution. We just have to get it out there as much as we possibly can, and hopefully, it'll kick in. I don't know if Amanda wanted to add.
Amanda.
Yeah, I did just want to jump in because those are thank you, Terry, and for Deputy Barry Burton. Those are very good comments. There is no one size fits all solution, but if you just noticed, I was reaching for a couple materials because I keep them at my fingertips. For up until 2020, we did produce what I think is 3 real key lure pieces for our area. We regularly spent close to $10,000 doing our Clearview activity guide, which was a 2-time-a-year production. There were 9,000 copies produced, 7,000 are mailed to every resident, and then 2,000 are distributed to key partners. Really high profile, it's got our logo, and then on the inside it has all of our information, parks, trails, but also a great opportunity, low cost for advertisers to pay for this. And this has been a multi-year partnership with the Creemore Echo. It's also available on our website. And then our 2 lure items, like I had mentioned, was the signature card rack signature event series rack card. Wow, end of the day. And it promotes all of our top destinations as well as the farmers markets. We've invested a lot in our brand colors, our brand scheme, so keeping that high profile, but also creating more visual identity to support Clearview Township. So utilizing a professional photographer to create all of our high impact images. Even today's presentation, those are all professional images, which just builds and adds to the types of assets we can use to promote Clearview. And then individually, when the time is right, so the music market, Park It, rack card, again, over 10,000 of these are printed. 7,000 are distributed by mail, with the remaining 3,000 sent out to our partners. So to Bill's point, absolutely, we do need to do a greater perspective and a greater point. Unfortunately, the last 2.5 years, for some members on the committee, you just haven't seen our promotional materials. And then I can't stress enough the use of our 4 Seasons map, which is done by South Georgian Bay. It's a full page pullout. This particular ad is Creemore Springs Brewery, but because of the limitations to some of the businesses advertising and not being open 4 seasons, they've been limited with the type of advertising that can go into this type of map. Publication. So there are lots of things that we can do. I certainly welcome feedback. We have a healthy budget to do promotions, whether it's digital, radio, TV. We also do television promotions during Small Halls. Again, Small Halls Festival was canceled. So some of those ongoing things that you would normally hear and see and even touch and pick up, we haven't been able to do the past 2.5 years. So. But welcome lots of feedback and new ideas. I definitely look forward to working with EDAC on some of those.
Okay. I saw Terry and then Barry. I just want to make one comment about the answer here, Bill. To Bill, it's difficult in a multimedia world to find one source of media information. And I think some of the best things that we can do is maximize the use of the tools that we have access to with ease, such as our website. And Discover Clearview is a very good website. And again, it's only limited in the amount of time and effort that can be put into making the website work. And then the other marketing tools, obviously Instagram and Facebook are 2 other things that we can do with almost instantaneous creation. We can use those tools to maximize communicating. But to answer your question, how do people find out what's going on in Clearview? it's a multi-pronged approach. It's just like putting a pitchfork, in, you got to stick lots of different media, radio, newspaper, like all got to stick to get the message out there. And so it's a difficult thing for sure. Some of them are more successful than others. Certainly radio, we have a lot of radio time that we spend on radio. I know Amanda has a regular voice on a couple of radio stations. Myself, I get a radio presence every morning at 7 o'clock on a couple of radio stations. And so if there's ever anything that anybody in the community, the business community want brought up, just send it off to me and I'll be happy to mention it on the air. I'm just more than pleased to do that on behalf of the business community. Terry and then Barry. Go ahead, Terry.
Very quickly, thank you, Your Worship. Also, Bill, if you're flying at 35,000 feet and you really look at the promotion world, the marketing world, we're still stuck in it. We're still relying on the old print type of media. The booklets and the guides, and there's also the electronic media. If we knew that it was one or the other, we can really concentrate on efforts on one or the other. We can concentrate just on electronic and websites and social media. If we knew that that's what everybody had, but our research is telling us that folks are still using the old print media. So to add to Your Worship's points is that fork has gotten from 5 to like 20 because the electronics and the paper, we're still using everything. And so how do you communicate effectively through all those different channels? It's just made our lives that much more complicated. And it makes it much more harder for us to get a message out there because it's just so many different. So maybe 2040, 2050, we'll just be electronic.
Terry, I'm gonna hold you up for a second. Terry, you gotta recharge your batteries in your headphone because you're breaking up terrible. The Bluetooth connection is obviously failing there a little bit. Let's go to Barry. Go ahead, Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship, and patience to all members while I yatter on here a little bit. I'm kind of old-fashioned. I'm 67 years old, for those of you who didn't know, so I'm a senior. But I built my business on personal contact. And, I ended up, I'm this little lighting specifier, had a small little office in Toronto and ended up doing worldwide projects. I mean, I've done projects at the Smithsonian. I've done stuff in China, art galleries in China. I've done the Civil War Museum in Gettysburg. So and it's all word of mouth. And I still think word of mouth is a very potential way of advertising. And the reason why I bring this up, because every day when I'm in Creemore, Clearview, whether it's Stayner, wherever it is, I see people and I stop and talk to them. I said, I see them looking in front of the sign. I said, hi, where are you folks from? And they go, we're from Barrie. We've never been here before. We lived in Barrie for 10 years and we've never been here before. And I'll stop and talk to them and say, look, this is here. Go look at the old bridge. Go, go here, go there. And go to Glen Huron and go see, Mary's apple pies because they're great. And I'm sure those same people will go back and say, you know what? We went to Creemore and the deputy mayor stopped and talked to us. And I think what we need to do is put ambassadors on the street on weekends. Put ambassadors on the street with these pamphlets and information. And so, on a Saturday or Sunday when there's some event going on, we hire some students, we pay them. We're going to have to spend some money, but we pay them. And we get them to just walk and talk to people and say, oh, you're in Creemore. Is this your first time? No, we've been here. Are you aware that you're part of Clearview, that this is part of Clearview Township? I think we need some hands-on, face-to-face ambassadors promoting us, because I still say that'll go a lot further. You can spend all the money you want on internet, and I've done it. In a business point of view, I've done it. My best results is when I pick up the phone and call somebody and say, this is who I am, can I come and see you? So I think we need a serious look at putting ambassadors on the street, Creemore, Stayner, some of our choice areas, when there's special events going on, so that they can promote it. And they say, yeah, I had no idea that Clearview was, Creemore is part of Clearview. I had no idea that Stayner had this music market in the park every Thursday night. Wow, maybe we'll come and see that because we're from Collingwood, because we're from Barrie, because we're from Innisfil. I think we need to get a hands-on, face-to-face approach.
Barry, thank you very much for your comments, and I really look forward to our workshop session. Jen, go ahead, and then Amanda. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I want to touch on a variety of different things. So going back, I think that the brainstorming is an amazing idea. I think that what I feel is happening right now is that we're beginning to grasp a mandate, and we're beginning to sort of put our arms around what this committee is going to accomplish. So I think that that is a really vital first step to be able to actually craft that mandate. Secondly, marketing is really hard. It's really expensive, and it takes a lot of lift. And building on what the mayor was saying, it's truly a pitchfork. It's multi-pronged over time, and that takes not only budget for the campaigns, but it also takes resources to be able to accomplish. So whether those are boots on the ground, or like Deputy Mayor Burton had suggested, whether it is new ways of thinking and doing things by bringing in new blood into tourism departments, whether it is being able to sort of craft new marketing avenues, it's all part of the same pot. I think what is incredibly important, though, and sort of one of the things that Amanda's presentation touched on, is we have to decide in Clearview who we are. And we have to be bold about committing to who we are as a township. And if that is part agritourism, then we need to support agritourism businesses. If it's supporting cannabis tourism, we have to support the farms that are producing the cannabis or doing cannabis tours or cannabis education. If it's about providing people into our restaurants, then we have to be able to provide accommodations that satisfy those overnight stays so that those restaurants remain full. So I just think that we need to make an environment that is open and can really think through who we are in order to be able to present that face to tourists and to locals so that we can attract people much more successfully and quickly.
Well said, Jen. I appreciate everything you just said. We're going to go to Amanda, and then I have a question for Judith. So don't go away, Judith.
No.
Oh, yes, I do. Amanda, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay, Mayor Measures. I think Jen summed up part of those last comments. I just wanted to respond to the Deputy Mayor and some of the other comments, but absolutely, I could spend another $1 million on marketing. It's not about the money. It's about the ability to put feet on the street and to work with our partners. And what are we actually promoting besides rural charm and big open views? So great ideas. I look forward to hearing back from the committee and being able to get some more information from you guys.
All right, thanks, Amanda. I appreciate that. And hopefully we will get back to you directly. That'd be great. So Judith, I was thinking about you during this entire conversation because in your work, you obviously see a lot of people that are in the agricultural business that are bringing in their agricultural equipment, and you hear from them, as well as you know this community well. What's your feel on the identity crisis? Are we an agricultural community, or are we a tourism community, or what's your take on that, Judith? Just from what you see.
I don't think we can identify as one.
I agree.
Like tourism wise, we don't have a freshwater beach. We don't have a ski hill, like a public ski hill. So yes, we are mainly a drive-through tourism area. Agriculturally wise, we're huge, but not in a way that is agritourism. Like Dunlogan Farms is, I don't know how many 100,000 acres they have, but it's not a farm you're going to go tour. It's a cash crop farm, Miller's Dairy. They have their event once a year if outside of COVID, but it's not a farm you can walk into. Agritourism is very narrow to me from our landmass of agriculture in Clearview Township. And then we've got aggregate, and then we've got industry like Reinhardt's and us and the cannabis. So I don't think we can identify as one. And if we are a drive-through tourism area, then capitalize on that. I understand the idea of having people on the street in Clearview, in Creemore or Stayner promoting, but that's capturing the people that are already here. So maybe you go to Collingwood Farmers Market and hand out maps and say, come to Clearview. There's no point handing them out to people in Clearview because they're already here. You want to bring more in to drive around and see what we've got. Can we sustain a hotel? Maybe if it's beside the casino that they build. But I don't think we can sustain a hotel outside of that. More B&Bs and Airbnbs possibly, but I don't think a hotel, just in my gut, is feasible. Yeah.
Okay. Judith, the reason I wanted to come back to you is that, as an Economic Development Action Committee, economic development activity in Clearview Township, agriculture still remains the #1 activity that happens in our area. And it's the #1 activity, and it's also producing huge amount of income into this community. And it doesn't have great employment numbers, only because agriculture has evolved into a much more efficient operation. So there's fewer people working more land.
But our agriculture in this area is feeding internationally.
Correct.
Like, my brother owns Call West Grain Elevator, which is in Collingwood.
Right.
But he ships containers of edible beans to Malaysia. And that product is grown in Clearview Township. So it's a huge industry.
Absolutely.
But it's not a tourism industry. It's not going to bring people to look at and say, oh, cool, that's a cool field of beans. But we can't afford to lose that.
No,
I agree. And the other, John, I'm going to get to it. But the other thing I was going to say is that we have other manufacturers, other producers too. I mean, agriculture is also wood. We have a major Castor Wood Products who, harvest wood and select wood products, and they ship them to Japan and turn them into baseball bats and send them back here, and the Major League Baseball players are using them. I mean, there's a very cool business that's shipping select wood for specific purposes of manufacturing, and it gets shipped all over the world from there. So, we have a lot of really unique little businesses that economic development can help support them. The affordable housing comment that Amanda had in her presentation strikes to me that it remains a big issue for politicians and upper tier governments to continue to support. So we need to do that for sure. But as an EDC committee, we need to demonstrate that is a priority to us as a community, and we would hope that we would share that with council so that they know that housing remains a huge pillar in one of the issues that we need to face. So anyway, so Judith, I'm just glad you jumped in on some ag commentary, because to me, there's a lot of businesses in this area, and tourism continues to be a great pressure on us as Clearview, because we do get a lot of people that stop and visit, and it is a darn beautiful area, isn't it? People want to stop and see it. And I often share, as the deputy mayor says, when somebody comes to town or whatever, you meet them, and I always tell them, when we're here in the daylight, it's beautiful. You should see it at nighttime when you can actually see the stars, because we're not polluted with light pollution.
Well, so, right now you should see what I'm seeing. I've been standing up a bit, where my office is in the corner here. These clouds are coming in hard, and we had tornado warnings on our phone. So if you see me run away, I'm running downstairs to yell at the guys in the shop to shut her down. Yeah,
I know. I saw the tornado warnings coming in too. So
the sky
you guys
is black.
Are safe. Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Who had their hand up there again? I think it was John Ferguson. Go ahead, Mr. Ferguson.
No,
and then
thank
we'll
you.
move on.
I was interested in what you said, Judith. Very wise comment, and I was thinking that. But what is what's the next possibility that Clearview could take on, knowing that the beaches are in Wasaga and that the ski hills are in Blue Mountain? What theoretically could this community take on as attractions? And all those other areas, including agriculture, have their industry, trade shows, all these things. For example, most provinces recognize between 60 and 70 different sport governing bodies, all kinds of different activities, and upwards of maybe 40 to 50 different recreation sport governing bodies. They all have memberships. They all have annual general meetings. Where are they having them? could they have them here? And if they have them here, what would we need to host that, to become a center for sport and recreation organizations? And are the industries such as camping and boating, who's putting the boat shows on in this area? Is it Collingwood? Is it Wasaga? Who's putting the RV shows on? Who's doing that? And where are they doing it? The same thing with agricultural and even turf grass, for example, for golf courses, the turf grass equipment and the different farm equipment. Are there trade shows here? I know there's an exhibition park, and I didn't see it this year, but I'm assuming that there would be agricultural equipment and something displayed there for, might be of new interest, new inventive technology for the various agricultural pursuits that this community may have. What's going on there? And I mean, there could be some going on, and probably there are, but if there isn't something, could we go after something? And if we went after something, what would we have to do to get ourselves ready for that? And then all of a sudden you become a name on a map now, right? Because now you're the focal point of a certain type of activity. Wasaga Beach, the focal point's the beach. What could we create as a focal point? What could we invent or reinvent ourselves to be a focal point for something? And to me, that's where I think we need to do the brainstorming to see what we focus on. It's not going to be easy, and you have to be prepared to roll up your sleeves and work towards getting certain things. I know we were trying to be out east, we were trying to be recognized by the Canadian Federation of Municipalities. There's 2,000 municipalities in the organization, and we wanted to host the board of directors meeting in a rural community. It had never happened before. And we won the bid, and then they tried to take the hosting away from us. Surprisingly, it was Halifax that was trying to get it from Annapolis County at the time. And we were able to hold that board of directors meeting for rural communities. And it led to policy changes for certain fundings that would be more rural specific with FCM. And all of these organizations are doing the same as we're doing. They're trying to promote who they are to all their members, and they're trying to grow their membership. So when you host a trade show or a conference, you really get tenfold communication from it. Because of the way they operate with their networks. They're trying to bridge each other. I mentioned about social capital. This is a part of the social capital, is where you could see figure skating and hockey and ringette and other ice sports sort of bridging their efforts together if they wanted to attract, to build a new facility, for example. They would bridge together to bring their resources. And who's out there in the community? Who are the volunteers working on certain areas? You won't get a national event or a provincial event unless you have a local group, because they all recognize their own memberships at the different levels. So what are we doing there to develop those volunteer bases if we have them? And we may have some, but what could we do to develop more? I think there's just a great opportunity there. I really do. But it'll take a lot of work.
John, again, I look forward to this session. Perhaps, John, yourself, the deputy mayor, and our CAO, or our Jen Kane Percy, we could come up with a possible date and present them to the committee for a brainstorming. That would be excellent. Thank you, everybody. Is any further questions to Terry and Amanda? Yes, go ahead, Barry.
Well, it wasn't a question, but I wanted to comment on Judith's comment. And I agree with Judith that we have to look at more than just agritourism or tourism. We have to look at bringing industry here. So, and bringing other businesses here. But it comes hand in hand. We have to be able to have housing and affordable housing for these to happen. So it's what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So that's where we have to, think in the future and be moving ahead towards, and none of these are quick, while we can solve this in 6 months. These are going to be 3, 4, 5 year solutions, but they're things we need to look at. And I do disagree with Judith, though, that she doesn't think a hotel would work here. I think a hotel would work great and would really help tourism part of our thing. But so on one point I'm on your side, Judith. On the other point, it's that's what it is. But I still think bringing, you know, a hotel here would help bring, as our CIO said, about bringing conferences here and stuff like that, because people are looking for different places. So but I think we have to, you know, recognize the bigger picture and what we can focus on. Can we focus on affordable housing to attract, you know, some industry here, you know, because our taxes are reasonable. You know, there's businesses that are looking for other places to locate. They're looking for, you know, skilled trades. You know, skilled trades is, I mean, I hear this all the time at the Economic Development Committee and in at the county, where there's businesses in Barrie, they can't hire people. People don't, you know, they just can't find skilled people. They can't find, you know, people who want to work these jobs. And you know, and a lot of it is because, you know, they can't afford. I mean, you look at Barrie. Barrie's become the second most expensive city in Canada to live in, apparently. So I've heard. So just I think we have to look at the bigger picture when we start dealing with these things.
Okay. I'd like to thank Terry and Amanda, and I appreciate you guys stepping in and joining us. I know if you want to bail out, I appreciate that. We will certainly be drawing upon your expertise in the future as a committee. And yes, tourism is a big part of economic development. Okay, Amanda, I'm all with you there. So thank you for your amazing work that you've done. And by the way, you know, in front of everybody, I want to acknowledge too the garden party was spectacular. Tracy and I had a great time. I know that Councillor Leishman had a great time, and Councillor Broderick had a great time. Well organized, great bunch of volunteers. Thank you for you and your team for putting that together. Really good. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks very much. Good night.
Okay. Thank you, guys. All right. Council committee, that was really interesting, and I'm really glad we had that presentation. And thank you, Jen, for meeting with these guys and getting them thinking about this. And so from this, I would suggest that we will move ahead with some type of a brainstorming session. John, you and Jen, and perhaps Barry and myself will get together. We'll come up with a couple of dates, and we'll pass it around to all of our members and see if we can put something together on a off-site location, socially distanced, where we can meet and do all that. That'd be great. Okay, I'm going to move on. Item 9 on our agenda. I asked for these 2 items to be put on. Thank you, Jen, Kane Percy. The South Georgian Bay Small Business Enterprise Center. We are kind of associated with them. We were supporters of them for many years. In fact, we had a volunteer from Clearview who served on a previous Economic Development Committee who served on this board. I checked and he's no longer on the board, but so this, there's an event coming up on October the 7th. If any of the members are interested in this, that might be something you might be interested in as members. And then the other item I put on is number 10, Calling the World Summit. Now, they've been hosting this, the second one. The first one was held in conjunction with the United Nations, and they had quite a good session. There were some very long speakers, to be honest. If you want to sit in front of your Zoom and watch long meetings, this is one of them. There's a lot of good information, but it is another opportunity. So I asked for these 2 things to be put on so all of our members had an opportunity to take a look at it. Any questions about those 2 items? Great, seeing none. Okay, new business. Anybody want to talk about a hotel study or lights in the downtown core for the chamber? Those are the 2 items that I wrote down. The floor is open for new business. Jen, go ahead.
Well, I'd love to talk about the hotel feasibility study. I had sent through some information about the third parties that can be tapped to do these types of accommodation studies. To be clear, they're not going to go in one way or the other. They're not skewed in order to provide an accommodations recommendation. The whole goal of them is to be able to see what the demand drivers are into your region, be able to see what you have in terms of labor, staffing, transportation options, as well as the seasonality and attractions. So the intention of those studies is to essentially spit out a recommendation whether this is something that your region can sustain or whether there is even demand for it. So I would strongly recommend that council look at applying for a feasibility study, or that if we as a committee can put some budget towards it. They do vary in cost. You can take them in stages. They vary from a few thousand just to get a sort of a go, no go, so that you don't have to go any further into the process. Or you could have a very strict mandate and you want them to accomplish certain goals. Those come with more cost. So I believe it's worth the conversation.
Okay. Anybody else on the commentary about the hotel study? John, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying, Jen. And I think a part of the preparation, they're going to want to see if the community is organized in the way I was describing to host events and to bring in, because they're going to want to see, is there an effort in the community to program to draw people here in some way? And I think it'll be a big piece of that as well. I think we should maybe work on those both simultaneously. And I think that's what'll elevate it. I know when a couple of hotels that I know of that dealt with similar circumstances, they were very much interested in what was going on in the local arenas, very much interested in what the service clubs were doing. Were they hosting events, and were they doing any trade shows and stuff like that? They wanted to know what the attractions were to the community.
Okay. I see everybody's getting a little bit of weather, and I saw some lightning there in your background, Miss Percy. So it's raining pretty hard right here in Stayner right now. How's things in Creemore, Jen? It's okay. And I see Judith has already bailed out on us. How about you, Bill? You're okay where you are? I can't hear you, Bill. Your mic's up.
It's raining like crazy.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll continue as long as we can, but let's
I gotta go, guys.
okay, Judith, good luck.
Okay,
Okay.
Jude, be careful.
Yeah.
All right. Barry. You okay, Barry?
Yeah, there's severe wind and rain happening right now. I just wanted to run out and swing my barbecue around, because if I don't turn it sideways, it catches it and blows it right off and there's propane tanks attached to it. It's pretty severe here right now, so don't be surprised if we lose connectivity.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'd like to suggest. Jen, this is a really good topic. I don't want to lose it. So why don't we get a motion on the floor to ask council to exercise a study for hotel accommodations in our community, and perhaps a value of $5,000 to get us into a no-go situation. John, maybe you could lead that discussion with with council. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder. That'd be Mr. Burton.
Actually, I have a question, Your Worship. I don't think we need permission from council to do it. I think this committee can decide to spend our funds and do this without, and then whatever the recommendation is, we can go to council. I don't think we need to.
Yeah, you're right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I believe you're right. We can do that. I think through the CAO's office, he can do that. He can exercise the study. So I'm looking for the support of this committee that would then ask John to source that out. I mean, Mr. CAO.
I'm happy to make the move. I'm happy to move it, that we proceed with the study.
John, you comfortable with that direction?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the direction. I have some ideas that I want to work through before I suggest others. I think we should have the brainstorming session as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Two will go hand in hand. Yeah.
Good. Barry, you're making a motion. So Jen, you want to write that down, something in the neighborhood of up to $5,000 from the budget of the Economic Development Committee. And can I have a seconder? The seconder. So Bill Rosgaard, very good. And I'll vote for it. All those in favor? And good. So that is carried. Thank you very much. Other item was lights in the chamber. I know Kelly's already left us. Does anybody know any further on what Kelly was suggesting? I know that she had talked about they wanted to spend some money on doing lighting in the downtown core. But what it is, it's lights that would actually go in the window fronts of the different cores downtown. So not really knowing the information, it's just something she mentioned to me really briefly. So I don't know the details of that right now. So maybe we'll leave that for another time. I think it's a good idea. So it'll be interesting to talk with her about that. If there's nothing further on new business, okay. All right, we better get going here. Committee, our next meeting is on October the 5th, 4:30 at this time. Otherwise, we may call the meeting earlier if necessary, but other than that, that's where we're at. So mark that in your calendar. And recommendation be resolved, the Clearview Economic Development Advisory Committee adjourn at 6:06 p.m. Can I have a mover? And that'd be Bill and Burton, Bill and Barry, and I'll call it all those in favor. Thank you very much. So the meeting is adjourned. Go be safe out there and enjoy the beautiful weather of Clearview Township.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy here right now. What's it doing out where you are, Jen? Is it Jen? Is it?
It looks like I'm inside a washing machine.
Oh, okay. So
Our
Okay.
neighbor lost a piece of their roof there. See that?
Oh yeah, I do see that
yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
That's Georgia Meadows in Collingwood.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I think it passed through though, so we'll see.
yeah, it's pretty severe here right now. So in Creemore, so it's kind of.
Okay. All right. Well, let's.
Whereabouts are you, Jen? Are you in Creemore?
I'm in Creemore as well. Yeah, it's pretty bad here.
Right.
All right, Miss
Yeah.
Percy, if you could end the live stream, that'd be good.